It's time for the Phil Ferguson Show, only on Secular Media Network.
Well, hello, everybody. This is Phil Ferguson, and you are listening to the cleverly titled Phil Ferguson Show. This is 178. We're wrapping up July of 2016, so I'm so delighted you can join us. I was just looking at the statistics for the show, and the number of listeners, or downloads, I guess, is the technically correct thing. And the show keeps getting more and more listeners. So all the new listeners, thank you. Thank you so much. Regular listeners, of course, thank you. And I'm always stunned. I get emails all the time now that people find the show and they go and they're trying to listen to all the shows real quick. And that's a lot of content. And I was talking to someone just the other day, and they were starting to mix up the information in different shows. It's a lot to absorb. If you're brand new, one of the general guidelines of the show is that it's 1/3 finance / investing and 2/3 atheism. And when I first proposed this to people, this idea of having this show, they said that that's not how it works. And like a lot of things in my life, I basically told them I don't give a fuck. It's what I want to do. So that's what we're doing in a general sense. However, today is going to be a little bit of a deviation from the norm. If you're one of those people that have sent me emails in the past asking for more financial content and less atheism, you're going to love this show. For the interview, we are going to have an actual attorney who specializes in financial law, and we're going to use the name WB because he is concerned about his future income because of where he lives and the work that he does, that if it becomes known that he's on my show because of the atheism, that he could lose business and or money and or job. So we're going to play that little game a little bit. But we are going to talk about a little bit of financial stuff. We're going to talk about gold and the value of gold and why you should not invest in gold. That's right. You heard it correctly. I've done a full, longer show on this, probably a whole year ago. I don't even know what show number it is. I'm looking through my list here and seeing if I can find it. But I don't know. If you really want to know, send me an email and I can try to direct you to it. But I'm going to cover a little bit of the similar stuff. It's one of those things that, a year and a half ago when the show started, I would get 500, 800, maybe 1,000 listeners per show. And now we're pushing 6,000 per episode. So a lot of people obviously didn't hear the show a year ago. So some of the subjects I will readdress them, especially when people ask and I get investment ideas. I've got this big long list of things to cover, but I can't do them all. And some of them, like this, are things that I've covered before, but enough people have contacted me recently and said, I've not heard you talk about gold, and isn't that a great investment idea? So we're going to cover that a little bit. The other thing that, just to share with you a little bit, personal experiences here, under the category of no good deed goes unpunished, a few days ago, I went to the store and bought a desk for my mom, and it was one of those put-together things, $80. She doesn't need anything really, really fancy, and it's going to do the job. And picked it up, put it in my cart, put it in my car, carried it in the house, put it together. Everything was going splendidly, and because I've been using my Bowflex, it didn't even seem like it was heavy. But a little bit after I was all done, my lower back started to hurt. And yes, I did keep my back straight, at least I think I did, and lift with my legs kind of thing. And then 5 or 6 hours later, my back had become all inflamed and a lot of pain. So for a couple days now, I've been regularly trying to ice and massage my back, hoping that this eventually calms down and goes away. The best thing I found, actually, the other day, I mowed the lawn, even though I was in a considerable amount of pain when I started. By the time I finished mowing the lawn, I felt better. So I'm not sure if it was from the walking, the exercise, the heat, offsetting inflammation or the mower vibrating my body, working as some kind of relaxing massager kind of thing. So now I do a phone call and I try to end a few minutes early and walk down to the end of the street and back so that I'm in motion, which is probably really just a generally good idea because sometimes I just do phone call after phone call after phone call, and if I get a break in business, I do some paperwork. The other thing that just for fun, I'm looking into the possibility of doing a little business in China. So I generally tell everybody, because the podcast goes around the whole world, and there's rules and there's laws with where and how, what advice I can provide. And I normally tell people, mostly jokingly, but there's some seriousness to it, because I checked into registering in Canada, and it was a lot of money. And so when people call me from other countries, I said, unless it's 7 figures, I probably can't help you. Well, I had someone say, well, I have that. So I'm checking into that. So that could be a fun new experiment for me. The other thing is that I'm continuing to practice my Italian. So for those who are new listeners, I've been working on learning Italian for about 5 years. And of course, like many Americans, I haven't perfected English. There's always new things to learn. Matter of fact, my daughter taught me a new word about a week or two ago, gleek, Gleek. And no, it has nothing to do with the TV show Glee. If you don't know it, go look it up. You can see you learned something from the show already. But I've been working on Italian for years, and I get Italian movies and watch Italian TV. And I was looking at Amazon.it, the Italian version of Amazon.com here in the United States, and they were having a big special. So I got a couple things that I've always wanted to see. The first thing that I watched was Game of Thrones, season 1 through 5. Watched that all in Italian with footnotes. I'm not that good yet, but had a great time with that. And I'm looking forward to, hopefully in a couple of days, I will be able to get from Amazon, the United States, in English, the season 6. So I want to be able to kind of catch up with people that have HBO. The other thing I've always wanted to see was Fast and Furious. I've never, ever seen even a minute of any Fast and Furious movie. And I got the box set for about $20, $25 from Italy, and it's all in Italian. Fast and Furious, damn, those movies suck. I'm sorry if you're a really big fan of the show. I really expected mediocre story plots. I was underwhelmed. I didn't even get really mediocre. The acting was terrible. It did help me practice a little bit on my Italian swear words. And this is one of those funny things, if you watch a movie in another language and know it well enough, when the subtitles don't match what they're saying in that language, it cracked me up. So the subtitles were PG-13. So it would say things like darn and shucks. And in Italian, they would say cazzo, which literally means dick. But it would say cazzo and una figlio di puttana, son of a whore, or bastardo, you're a bastard, vaffanculo, go fuck yourself. It would say all these things, and then underneath it have these kind of like funny, naughty, like shucks and darned and you're bad and things. It kind of cracked me up. But Fast and Furious, I struggled through that. I won't be going seeing. Apparently, there's a new one. I don't know. I was really underwhelmed with that because I mean, figure if you make 7 of them, there has to be something really good about them. But I was wrong. And the new thing that I'm learning Italian with, because these were stupid cheap, is Murder, She Wrote. I enjoy the show in English, and it's a good little mystery thing. And when I watch Murder, She Wrote, I'm always trying to see if I can figure out who the killer is or figure it out before other people are watching the show with you. It's kind of a little fun thing. And I put in so I bought the first 5 seasons. And the reason I got these is because while I'm spending money on something I don't have to spend money on, I want to spend as little as possible. And each season of Murder, She Wrote has about 12 hours of content, and paying in euros and even shipping it halfway around the world was only about $15 per set. So it was almost $1 per hour of content so I can watch this. And I put the first one in, and I couldn't figure out how to turn on the subtitles because they don't have subtitles. So now I am actually watching Murder, She Wrote, one episode at a time, of course, no other way to do it. And I'm watching it in Italian, and I have to pay much more attention. This is probably actually a good thing, and I think I'm well enough along. And so I watch it, and for the most part, I'm getting it. And I've watched a handful of episodes now in the last week of Murder, She Wrote, Season 1. And about half the time, I'm able to figure out who the murderer is before the big reveal. And it was something that worried me because in a murder mystery thing like that, just missing a few details can really make a difference. But I'm also pleasantly surprised how much I figure out by what the people are doing and what they're holding and what their gestures are and what their face looks like. So it's not just the Italian. I'm assuming the same thing when you watch in English, you just don't notice it. You pick up all these cues. So I'm very happy I'm getting most of the Italian. A couple of episodes I didn't understand when they got to the conclusion. I just didn't really get it, and I felt a little lost. And so I rewatched the entire episode in English, and a couple of them I figured out because it was just a really shitty episode. It just was stupid, a really, really bad plot, and I had no idea who had done it just based on watching it in English. So I feel really good about this, that I can watch a 45-minute show and get most of the content. Sometimes I'll pause if they say a word I don't know, and I look up a new word and learn something. So that's great fun. So we've got all that going on. But the thing that I wanted to do is I'm going to play you a segment from that I found on the internet. I think it's a local TV station. It has a tag on the end, so they get a little credit, about the Holy Land experience. Apparently this theme park in Florida, which celebrates the brutal crucifixion of the alleged character of Jesus, is having financial troubles. Dun, dun, dun. I mean, how many religious theme parks do we have to open and close to figure out this is a bad idea? Now, the big question for me is, when does the Ark close? When does it go bankrupt? But we're going to play this little segment on the Holy Land experience, so check this out. And we come back, we're going to talk about gold.
You're listening to The Phil Ferguson Show on Secular Media Network.
Holy Land Experience, an Orlando theme park, has been dealing with financial turmoil and a change in leadership in recent years. Now they're also unloading a lot of assets, including ornate furniture, a motorcycle, couches, costumes, nativity statues, and many other unusual items. The owners of the Christian theme park, the Crouch family of Trinity Broadcast Network, are also closing gift stores in Tennessee and California. An attorney for the network, John Casoria, said in an email that the not-for-profit companies have experienced a drop in revenue as TBN voluntarily ended the practice of live telethons to raise money in 2012. California-based TBN is also dealing with the death of its founders over recent years, Paul Crouch in 2013 and Jan Crouch in May this year. It has seen years of ongoing litigation with the Crouch's granddaughter, Brittany Davidson, over allegations of embezzlement and spending charitable donations on extravagant lifestyles. Despite the turmoil, Casoria insisted that Holy Land Experience isn't going anywhere and has plans to renovate and attract a younger audience. The attraction features live shows, exhibits, and a collection of artifacts related to the Bible or Christian history. The auction will be held Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. For OrlandoSentinel.com, I'm Paul Brinkman.
We're going to talk about gold. And this is one of the things for the show. I use the phrase investing skeptically. I also use science-based investing because the show is not here to sell you a product. Most investment shows have something to sell. I guess kind of in a way I do have my business to promote and sell, and you could argue this is a shameless hour-long commercial. Fine. I'll accept that, but I'm not selling any products. So the thing is, what's the best thing to do, and how does one find that out? One finds that out with data, with information, with numbers, and we look at, or we should look at medicine this way. We look at religion. A lot of my regular listeners look at religion this way. Why not look at investing this way? And from time to time, people ask me about gold, and why don't I recommend gold, and why don't I have it in part of their portfolio? And so today I'm going to go over some of those reasons. Like I said earlier in the show, I've done this in a longer segment before, but I'm just going to recap some of this. I'm now looking at the book Common Sense on Mutual Funds by John C. Bogle. It is one of the books